Hey everybody, Timmy Gibson, former fundamental evangelical tongue talking Holy Ghost rolling pastor. But I also do bonus videos, and I have a special guest here with me today, Skinny Webb. Skinny Webb is the guitarist in my wife's band, Into the Gray. And so, Skinny, just for my listeners, how'd you get into playing guitar? A little bit about your story. Obviously, you look like a rock star.
Yeah. Well, from being from the time I was born, I've always been infatuated with this thing,
Yeah.
a guitar. My mother has pictures of me playing toy guitars when I was 1 year old, and when I was 5 years old, they finally got me a guitar. My grandpa came to me and said he had a guitar in a case, and it was this big guitar,
Like an adult
yeah,
size
an
guitar.
adult guitar. And he goes, if you can carry that out to the car, you can have it. And so I took all my might and everything I had to get that thing out to the car, and the rest is history. I played that, and it's been my friend since then.
Yeah.
And so I took lessons and taught myself. And when I got into country music, got into rock and roll. And when I was 14, I started playing in bands, and have been playing live ever since. Basically playing and making a living playing in bands.
That's
Basically.
awesome. That's awesome. So the reason I wanted to have you on my show is we were talking. We're in Eureka Springs. You all had a gig at Got a Hold Brewing, and we've been, you get up early and do your guitar playing and drinking your coffee, and we got to talking about some religious stuff. And I was, we were talking about my channel and how, I'm a former evangelical pastor, and that I've walked away from that, and I'm now atheist. And we were talking about something, and I want you to talk about it here in a second. But I remember we were sitting here chatting. I'm like, Skinny, we got to talk about that on my show. I think that would be great. I think the listeners would just love, outside of your music too. I think your story was really powerful. So I can't tell the story, but just give us a little bit about your history with religion, God, and kind of what conclusions that you came
Oh,
to.
okay. Well, I grew up in the church. My parents were religious, especially my mom, and we grew up in the Christian church. And I I actually started playing music in the church, which was a great outlet. It's
Absolutely.
one of my first audiences, I guess, when I was 5, 6 years old, playing music
Yeah.
with my mom while she played piano. But there were certain things, philosophies and ideologies in the Christian church that from a very young age I saw the flaw in the logic.
Yeah.
So, and I when I look back on it, I can't believe at that young age I could figure that out when all the adults were saying this happened and that happened and
Yeah.
stuff. And so I always questioned it. I saw some value in the church in that, so in some ways they help less fortunate,
Sure.
and they
The
help,
community.
and they definitely help me kind of open up and get into music and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but we were talking about earlier about the God gene, and I told you that I think I was born without the God gene.
Yeah.
And I have this theory that I think that some people are born with a God gene,
Yeah.
and that translates into following different types of groups all
Yeah.
across the board, not just the Christian religion or any religion, but
And we joked and called it the joiner up gene.
yeah, the
Joiner up. I'm not a joiner up person.
Yeah, yeah. I've other than playing in bands, I've never been a part of a group really. Never wanted to join a club.
Yeah.
So that kind of yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm even still, I'm kind of dumbfounded that I was able to understand that at a very young
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. It's
So
almost like a child looking at the parents going, guys, Santa's not real. If all the parents believe in it, the
Yeah.
child's like, no, that this actually doesn't happen. We have no proof, no evidence of Santa ever coming down the chimney.
Yeah.
Like, this has literally never happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's odd how if you don't tell your parents you've lost a tooth and put it under your pillow, the tooth fairy never comes.
No, that's
you
true.
have to
That's
tell
true.
your parents in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you went on to say, which was just a powerful story. Coming from the Christian world, myself being a pastor, I often equated, and a lot of Christians do this. Jesus set me free from this, right? And you'll hear those kinds of stories, and I don't discount those stories, but for every story you hear of some Christian being set free from some addiction because of God, your story is like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like, would you care to share a little bit about that story?
Well, playing in music can be a hazardous industry for substance abuse, both drugs and alcohol. Now, I never really got into drugs, but I did get into alcohol, over
Yeah.
the years, and it just kind of builds and builds. You start out playing shows, and you use a little bit of alcohol to calm the nerves.
Yeah.
One beer, and then a few years later, you're up to drinking 3 beers before the show,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, you're drinking throughout the show and after the show.
Yeah.
And so after a long time, I had reached a point where it was just unmanageable. I was using it to medicate myself too much, so finally I woke up one morning and I basically knew I could not take that anymore. It was gonna have to end, and I looked into the AA and things of that nature, and they're always talking about a higher power, and obviously people who kind of question that have a hard time following that give it up to God thing.
Yeah.
And so I kind of went another route and looked into the Buddhist philosophies.
Yeah.
Not any kind of religious things that Buddhism is associated with,
right,
or Hinduism, but more of the meditation part of it, and more of
the practice of quieting the mind.
Yeah, exactly, and to some of the principles to reduce suffering.
Yeah.
And so I started doing meditation. It really helped me.
Yeah.
It got me out of it. It's a little bit complicated, but after a lot of practice of meditation, it starts to help and kind of eases that addiction to where when you quit cold turkey, you can manage those addictions and not fall back on,
and it's been 10 years for you.
10 years.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable. Time moves on whether you drink or not.
That's absolutely true.
But one of the problems I always had with meditation is to do it regularly, and you really need to do it every day, and for some period of time. So I developed this thing where I thought, well, if I can meditate and use a mantra like regular people who meditate do, I can use the guitar as a meditation tool.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing every morning, and for about an hour a day every morning, I use the guitar. I play the same thing every morning. I don't do anything that's complicated. I just play and use the guitar as a mantra, like most people would use a verbal mantra.
Right.
And in that way, I've been able to do it every day, pretty regularly, for an extended period of time, maybe even multiple times a day sometimes. So it's really been something I've discovered that really, really works. And informally call it the Zen of guitar. So,
I love it. I love that.
that's really helped me and all along, and it's been great for me.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said, and not to put words in your mouth, but in our conversation over coffee, you said, yeah, when I realized that I didn't believe in God, or I was like, no, I'm not believing in this Christian God, and then kind of found the Buddhism practice
Yeah.
helpful for your life, is when you really got set free. Because I
Yeah.
say that all the time. I on my channel, I'll talk about, I really have become a better person as a result of walking away from fundamental Christianity, and that shocks people. It shocks me. No one's more surprised that I'm atheist than myself. And the fact that I could have a better life as an atheist, and that I'm more moral as an atheist. There's all these things that where my life has really been, hashtag blessed, as a result of walking away from, organized religion and a belief in an imaginary, creature that created all of this for me.
Yeah.
That I have to take responsibility for my life, and that, honesty is important, not because of hell, but honesty is important because it's just better to be honest. So, do you want to play an original song? Is there something, maybe part of your meditation that you've written, or something you want to share with the audience before we?
Well, yeah, I'll play something that I play first thing every morning. It's a guitar piece written by Fernando Soar, who is a historical classical guitar player. It's it's a study that he wrote, and it's something I've always done, and for during this meditation practice, and I've gotten it to the point where I basically let go and play the piece. If I make a mistake, I I allow myself to make that mistake. If I play it perfectly, then that's I don't judge myself.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's uh, it's like any kind of meditation. You don't judge yourself. You let go,
Yeah.
and that's what it helps me do, is to let go of and calm the mind,
Yeah.
basically. So I'll play a little bit.
Okay. Dude, beautiful. So, how can people find your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and connect with you?
Well, my Skinny Webb is my YouTube channel. SKINNY at Skinny Webb, and I've got product videos that I review guitar gear on there, and I've also do a lot of traveling, and I will play songs and videotape myself playing on exotic locations. My
Fun.
most recent video was on the Queen Mary in Anaheim or Long Beach, California,
Okay.
and it was just I played the Beatles. Here Comes the Sun, as the sun rose above the boat behind me, and it was just beautiful.
That's
And
awesome.
I love doing that and love traveling.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm kind
cool.
of a nomad.
Yeah. I love it. Well, hey everybody, Skinny Webb. I'm curious, did you is you don't need to tell us your real name, but is this like a rock star name?
Yeah,
Skinny
I
Webb?
was given that name when I was playing in bands in high school, and I
Okay.
was really skinny back then.
Yeah.
Weighed about 120 pounds, I think, and at 6'4", 120 pounds, that's pretty skinny. So,
Yeah. Well, I know that Post Malone, who's one of my favorites, and I heard his story about he put it into a rock star name generator. You
oh,
know, that he threw some stuff into a generator and it popped out
really?
Post Malone is how I got his name. And I think like Teddy Swims' name is like James something,
Oh,
you know, and it's just interesting because, you know, the rock star name clearly, you know, you can become famous and whatever your name is, now that sounds like a rock, it's a famous name, you know. But
yeah,
also there are some names that just, like, even if it's a little child and they said, you know, this is Blaze something, and you're like, well, that sounds like a famous rock star name, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
And I remember when I first met you and they were like Skinny Webb, and I was like, well, that's like a rock star name. That sounds awesome. Is that his real name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my wife calls me that, and
Yeah.
for a while, my mom even started calling me that, but she went back.
Yeah.
It's a when you have a interesting name, people remember it,
Yeah.
and it helps when you're trying to promote your music, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Most people laugh at my name. They're like, Timmy. It's like, you go by Timmy, really? I'm like, yeah, that's how I introduce myself. It's Timmy. They're like, you don't
yeah,
go by Tim? I'm like, no. Timothy? No, it's Timmy. It's Timmy. You know,
yeah, that's
it's like it
great.
sounds like a little child movie. Anytime, or a child name. Anytime I see a movie where they're like, "Come here, little Timmy," I'm always like, "Come on."
Well, when I first met you, I remembered your name immediately, so
Yeah,
that really helped.
yeah,
I didn't have to think, oh, what was his name again?
yeah. Not many people go by it. Well, guys, hey, thank you so much. Make sure to like, subscribe, Cuss and Discuss. But go check out his channel. Give him a subscription. You know, like him, follow him, and make comments and share his videos. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much, man, for
Thank
coming
you.
on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Peace, everybody. Cheers.